Hello, my name is Michael O'Varhola, and I'm with D-Infinity Online and Skirmisher Publishing, and I am here with some of my closest friends and associates. And tonight we're going to be continuing it with an adventure that we've been playing for a while now, and that is the In the Footsteps of Hercules Universal Sourcebook, which has been published by Skirmisher Publishing. And we're going to be using the D&D 5th edition rules for our session tonight. So all of the players here have characters who have, for some period of time or another, been traveling the pilgrimage trail known as the Footsteps of Hercules. And we're going to have each one of them introduce themselves and their characters briefly. And then I'll give a synopsis of what we did in the last session. And then we will set the scene for where they are in this session and jump right into the adventure. So why don't we start with you, Brenda? Tell us who you are and who you're playing.
I'm Brenda Cass, co-owner of Skirmisher. I'm playing Abdros. Abdros is a socially inept monk of Hermes Zenodios. He is a protector of the roads and is protecting these roads right now while also being a pilgrim.
Perfect. Amanda?
Hello, I'm Amanda Call. I'm one of the artists for Skirmisher Publishing, and I am playing Vafea, who is a dyer. She is a human expert. That is her character class, which is one of Skirmisher's own character classes.
Perfect. Penny?
I'm Penny Staples. I am a longtime fan and hanger-on of Skirmisher Publishing. I am...
So much more.
Definitely more.
I am playing Deianira. Deianira is an Amazon ranger who is sort of a fish out of water, traveling through Greece on this pilgrimage trail, and she is a master horsewoman and archer.
Perfect. Paul?
So I'm Paul Knorr. I'm an old-time author with Skirmisher, and am playing Chaz, who's a satyr. He's a bit of a druidic priest of Dionysius. He believes in demonstrating his faith by example, and is also a bit of an entertainer.
Perfect. Dad?
I am Mike Varhola, senior, so to speak. My character is Eumaeus. Eumaeus is a semi-retired soldier from the island of Kos who lives in a ruined village in the hills above the town of Apollo. And he is a former peltast, which is light infantry.
Perfect.
And I am, in effect, the treasurer for Skirmisher.
And you are, in effect, the treasurer for Skirmisher. That is correct. Good. Well, now that anyone who's watching knows who's playing, let's jump into it. In our last session, most of your party was at the segment of the pilgrimage trail that ties in with Lake Stymphalos. And Lake Stymphalos is the place where Hercules battled and drove away a flock of horrible predatory birds known as the Stymphalian birds. So as pilgrims, you hiked to the lake, you visited the town, you visited 3 shrines of Hera, and met some people that you had met on former segments of the adventure, including the high priestess of Hera, Artemisia, who you have sort of a love-hate relationship with. You went out into the...
hate her.
You love to hate her. You went out into the swamps with these castanets that you bought, and something that pilgrims do is they buy these castanets and they go out into the swamps and they try to sneak up on a flock of birds, and then they clack the castanets and scare them off. And this is a sort of fun snipe hunty votive act that ties in with Hercules's battling these birds, and some people say slaying them, and some people say driving them away from the area of the lake. You then decided to go out to a rather ominous shrine on an island in the middle of the lake, the shrine sanctuary of Ares Stymphalos, which is a place formerly dedicated to the goddess Artemis now dedicated to a weird aspect of the god Ares. We can't talk about too much of what you did there because you all swore oaths not to reveal it to outsiders. So we won't go into a lot of details, but we will say that you all of you who were there, which I think is everyone except for Michael H., had your weapons consecrated. You went through a ceremony honoring the god of war, and you had your weapons consecrated by him. So when you all walked away from that encounter, you walked away with enchanted weapons, essentially. And this was a good device for me as a stingy DM who never gives anybody anything useful or valuable to finally give your 4th level characters +1 weapons in game terms to be meta. So all of you now, except for you Mayos, have +1 weapons. But 2 of you, if I remember correctly, realize that some sort of malign spirit is connected with your weapons now. That while they were being consecrated in the name of the war god, the spirit of some angry, vengeful war spirit ended up getting attached to your weapons, getting attached to you. So the weapons are, for all practical purposes, cursed and bloodthirsty. So you are now compelled to keep those weapons on your person, and you are not compelled to use them, but you attack at disadvantage with any other weapons. And there's just all sorts of issues associated with this. So who are the 2 of you who had whose weapons were affected in this way? Penny's Dianara and somebody else. I know there were 2 of you. Paul, was it you?
I think it was Paul's horns.
I'm pretty sure it was Paul's satyr horns.
Yeah. He's got +1 bloodthirsty satyr horns.
I think he does have +1 bloodthirsty satyr horns. Paul, you're muted. You know that, right?
Yes, of course I know I'm muted. Always know when I'm muted.
It was your horns that ended up also having a curse on them, right?
Yes. Okay.
So your characters have decided that a possible way to have these spiritual attachments removed is to go to the hospital that you had visited before and done some favors on behalf of early in the adventure, which is to say the Asclepion of Lerna. And they have at the Asclepion of Lerna what is called a dream temple. And a dream temple is a place where you can go to have all sorts of spiritual or psychological healing done. So you sort of determined in the last session that that might be a good place to go to either have the weapons removed from you or have the evil spirits removed from the weapons. So when we begin today, you are 1 day out from Stymphalos. You got up the morning of the day that we're playing right now. You hiked about 4 hours from Stymphalos to Nemea. And Nemea is the place where pilgrims heading out on the route, that's where they spend their second night out, usually. So you are now in Nemea, and the village and the holy precinct just outside of it, where the Temple of Zeus are, and where the hostel that pilgrims stay at, and where the bathhouse, the famous bathhouse is, it is completely crowded now, with a few pilgrims coming in from the end of their pilgrimage. People have been out for a month or 2 hiking the northern part of the Peloponnesian Peninsula. But many more new pilgrims, fresh pilgrims, coming up from the north, coming up from Tiryns, where they began their pilgrimage. And also there's some sort of an athletic festival going on, an athletic competition at the nearby stadium. So when you get to Nemea, it's crowded, there's all sorts of people everywhere, and you make it to the hostel out by the Temple of Zeus. You find out that you can't stay at the hostel because priority goes to athletes when there's an athletic competition going on. So you're going to have to hike back a half mile to the village of Nemea and find a place in one of the inns there. But as long as you're out here next to the famous baths of Nemea that are right next to the hostel, you decide that you are going to go to the bathhouse and have a good soak and a sweat and just sort of do something that's traditional for pilgrims, but also fun and therapeutic. So, Celine, thank you.
I have a question for you, Mike.
Yes.
Do we know that our weapons are cursed?
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah,
All right.
you know that. You sense that there is exactly what I described, sort of weird spiritual entity attached to them. Your weapon is essentially wielded by you, but bound to you and partially influenced by sort of a semi-sentient spirit of some vengeful warrior who died in battle.
All right.
That's basically what we're looking at. So after you leave Nemea, you'll hike one day and spend the night in the old citadel of Mycenae. Then you'll hike another day and spend the night in the pilgrimage town of Tiryns. And then you'll hike a third day and you'll end up in Lerna and go to the Asclepion there. But for now, you have rented one of the semi-private chambers at the bathhouse known as the Basins. So there are little 20 by 20 areas that are walled off and have a tub in them, and then have benches and towels and strigils for cleaning yourself with, and little bottles of oil. So rather than just go into the common area of the bathhouse, you decided you would spring for one of these basins, which is what they call these little semi-private areas, for a couple of hours. And then being characters of quality, you can sit around in your little shifts and each take a turn in the hot tub there and chat and relax and get cleaned up. So when we begin, your characters are all stripped down to your skivvies and in a little semi-private area, bathing and chatting and sort of recounting your adventure and talking about how you're going to do the final steps of the pilgrimage, whether you're going to take ship and go to Crete and see the original bulls of Crete, whether you're going to hike down to Cape Matapan and visit the cave where Hercules entered the underworld and captured the three-headed dog Cerberus, whether you're going to be successful in having your weapons fixed or removed from you at the Asclepion. So you're just chatting about these sorts of things in this area in the bathhouse. Periodically, an attendant comes in and drops off fresh towels or asks if you need anything, finds out whether anyone needs a massage or whatever. So if there is anything that you do want to discuss or ask, as Penny just did, this is a good time for that because it's just sort of a relaxing social setting. You presumably have a jug of wine and you're rubbing yourself down with olive oil and then scraping yourself with this copper knife called a strigil. So you're just going through the whole sort of ancient Greek bathing ritual at the moment. I'm being harassed by a cat, by the way. Celine, you make me very nervous. So did anybody have any questions or have anything they wanted to address while you're just relaxing and drinking your wine and taking turns soaking in the tub?
This is obviously something that's part of Greek culture. Is it something that's part of Amazonian culture as well, or is this weird for me?
No, it would be part of your culture as well. In fact, the biggest city that ends up getting developed over in that part of the world is built on top of hot springs for this purpose.
All right.
And there's a future adventure that will take you there because it ties in with the actual spot where our Lord Hercules slew your Queen of the Amazons and stole her belt.
Yeah.
So that will be an awkward segment of the adventure, but it will be something that follows eventually. So yes, we can assume that particular talking point might have come up while you all are sitting here. Is it weird for you, Amazon, to be sitting in a bathtub? Why no? We bathe where I come from. As a matter of fact, our cities were built on hot springs until the evil tetrarchs of the Tetrarchy of Anatolia came and sacked our city and drove us off. Well,
Sure.
You don't bathe as much there anymore then, do you? So while you're relaxing and drinking your wine and bathing and chatting and thinking about staggering the half mile back to Nemea and finding your, Celine, will you stop? And finding an inn there, you hear some sort of sense, more than hear to start with, some sort of dispute going on out in the main area of the bathhouse. Okay, and you can put up the map anytime you want, Brenda, or if you just want me to do a share screen, I can do that.
I can share it.
So when this map pops up, it looks squashed. Because that main area with the circular pool in the middle,
It is slightly squashed.
it is slightly squashed. Can we turn it 90 degrees clockwise? That would probably do the trick.
No, I think the program is deforming it.
It doesn't matter for our purposes. Okay, so basically just to describe to you what you all see. At the lower left side of the screen, we can see the main entrance to the bathhouse. Toward the middle of that area, we could see what is basically a reception desk where people go in and pay a fee to enter the bathhouse. If you pay a very small nominal fee, you go right and you go into that changing room there. And then from the changing room, you can go into the main area of the bathhouse. So you see the main area of the bathhouse has 4 large columns supporting it, and in between them is a 30-foot wide round pool. Okay, does everybody see all that?
Mm-hmm.
At the north end of that common area, there is a steam room and a dry sauna. And those are all things that anybody who uses the baths can use. When you went in, you paid a higher fee to get in. You went left, went into the changing room there, and then went up into that northern area, that northwestern quarter of the bathhouse. And that's where the basins are, these semi-private areas. So you're in a 20 by 20 area that has a tub and some benches and little table, and you're all sitting around chatting in there. And you can see that when you're done with your bath, if you want to walk through that entryway up toward the top, you can go into the common area. You could sit in the main pool if you wanted to, but probably you wouldn't have paid to have your own semi-private area if you wanted to do that. But you could go to the steam room or the dry sauna or whatever. Okay, so you're over when we began in the upper left-hand corner of the bathhouse, enjoying yourself, and you hear some sort of consternation going on out in the main area, okay? And if you're wondering what's behind the building there, there's a water wheel in the upper left-hand corner that raises water up into a little pump house and ends up depositing it into a series of tanks. And those are the round things behind the bathhouse. So you would have seen that when you were approaching from the village of Nemea. And a bunch of the tanks are painted black. So basically, water heats up during the day, and you've got hot and cold running water throughout the bathhouse. Okay? I am being harassed here. Celine, will you quit pestering me? You can be part of the game, but you shouldn't be harassing me while I'm trying to narrate things. So you hear you feel some sort of a dispute going on, and then you hear actual shouting and angry comments being made, and then all of a sudden you hear what sounds like a crack of thunder, like a thunderbolt going off, and you hear immediately afterwards a scream of anguish. And then you just hear all sorts of consternation. People yelling and running and moving around, and some people shouting. You hear laughter in the midst of all of it. So something is going on, and these are all 5 feet squares. Something is going on over in the main area, and you're over here in the upper left corner, the northwestern corner at this point. So it is your game at this point, and you can tell me what, if anything, you want to do. You're not required to do anything. You are guests at a bathhouse. The fact that a riot is occurring in a part that people with less money than you happen to be occupying doesn't have to be your problem.
What is this, 2020 America? No, I'm going to go out and help people.
Well, I'm
Yes,
intrigued.
I would like to make sure I throw on a robe or something and then go out and see what's...
Abderos is going to be naked as the day he was born.
Of
Alright.
course he is.
So
Where are my weapons?
Abderos is looking appropriately Grecian. Vafea, being a bourgeois woman of good quality, modestly puts on a robe. And the two of you are heading out to investigate?
Yes.
I'm going too. Where are my weapons?
Great.
Remember, you couldn't get into a hostel here, so all your stuff is just sort of stacked in the corner here.
All right, I'm going to. Well, I'm going to grab a dagger and bring it with me. Battle axe seems like overkill.
You feel uncomfortable grabbing the dagger. The dagger feels awkward in your hand, and the battle axe seems to be yearning to be grabbed by you. Just so you know. So if you want to grab a dagger,
all I need is an international incident, slaughter in the bathhouse.
well,
I'm going to try and resist it.
I don't know. I don't recall that Julius Caesar was hacked to death by axes. But no, your dagger is just fine. You're clutching your dagger awkwardly in your hand, and you and your other two companions are heading out to investigate. Eumaeus, Chaz, what are y'all doing?
Chaz goes along, and, you know, I'll take my horns, since my horns are
the ones that are attached to your head.
And I don't see any point in wearing pants, since I usually don't wear pants anyway.
You don't wear pants anyway, but now you're a fragrant goat man because you're freshly bathed and perfumed. So this is as good as it gets for you. What about you, Eumaeus?
He just stays put. He's enjoying himself so much. He doesn't get a nice warm bath very often.
No, that's true. Well, we'll say that it was Eumaeus' turn finally to make it into the tub. So you drew lots and you ended up coming up last. So you are now in the hot tub, taking your turn, drinking your wine, and you see your companions go stomping off in various states of undress to investigate what's going on. All right. So I do, by the way, have a cat whose nicknames are Bitey and Scratchy, sitting on my lap, biting my arms and trying to get me to pay attention to her while I'm doing this, just so everybody understands the context if I start screaming or they see blood.
We see a tail darting in and out of frame.
That's the least dangerous part of her. Oh. All right. Well, the four of you move forward through the area of the basins. You come to the doorway that goes into the common area, and we'll say that the four of you pass through that door and are now clustered just on the other side of the doorway in the area with the pool. And what you see is this. Clustered along the eastern wall of the bathhouse, mostly from the midpoint of the room up to the north, are a couple of dozen terrified looking civilians, regular people, many of them pilgrims. You can tell that they're pilgrims because they're clutching pilgrim hats, or they've got pilgrim holy symbols hanging around their necks. A couple of dozen of them are pressed up against the wall and cowering in fear. One of them has a huge welt on one of their buttocks, and you can see curling up towels into rat tails and preparing to launch an assault on them, a familiar group of characters. You can see a full team of 10 harpastum players who have apparently decided they are athletes, not pilgrims, and of course they are here to actually participate in a athletic competition. I'm not going to have anybody make insight checks. I'm going to explain this to you. You see the 5 harpastum players that you know, who are all now tougher and meaner and more experienced because they've walked the same pilgrimage trail that you have. They've just drawn different lessons and conclusions from it, presumably. One of them has taken on the role of team captain and is a little bit tougher and more experienced than the rest. So he's more like, he's a leader type. You then see 5 young Spartans who are part of the Harpaestum team but didn't walk the pilgrimage trail, who the more experienced ones are trying to impress and who they have badgered and intimidated into being part of this spectacle. So basically, you're looking at sort of gang mentality. They didn't want to share the tub, and some pilgrim told them they needed to behave properly in public, probably some German or Canadian or something like that. They were not up for taking that kind of advice and resorted to rolling up a towel and whipping this poor person into submission and then laying into the pilgrims in general. So a bunch of pilgrims managed to make it out. A bunch are now cowering against the one wall. 2 of the Harpaestum players have picked up a bench and are emulating a shield wall with it. And a number of attendants have come in with mops and tried to get them to calm down, but they're buffeting them away with the bench, and 2 are coming around on the edges with towels and getting ready to attack them. So you're about to see the slaughter of the pilgrims via towel whipping by 6 of the Harpaestum players, while 4 of them fend off the pool attendants and allow this affront to happen. So this is what you stumble out upon. You are not surprised. They are not surprised. Nobody is surprised. But you realize that a towel that could produce a thunderclap could only do so with an attack made with a natural 20. So, do we go into tactical time here?
Well, I would certainly like to stop these punks. They've caused nothing but trouble our whole journey. Every time we run into them.
Since day one.
Every time we run into this Harpaestum team, they are always causing some kind of ruckus.
You met them at the opening ceremony that you went to before you started hiking the pilgrimage trail, and they were being disruptive at the opening ceremony, and the priest of Hercules had to ask them to settle down.
Yep.
That was
like, a thing that happened.
It was like 2 months earlier. So, you would like to stop the punks? Okay.
I would like to walk up and at least admonish them and tell them to stop and leave everyone alone. Behave themselves.
Okay. Well, let's see what happens. Do you have any particular charisma skills that you'd like to, charisma-based skills that you'd like to avail yourself of as you stomp indignantly over there and tell them what they need to be doing?
I do have persuasion.
You do have persuasion. Okay. Well, the fact
I can try to convince them that this is not appropriate behavior and they are making fools of themselves.
Well, let's see what happens. You come up on the shield wall. So you're coming up at this point. You're up in the northern half of the room, the northern third of the room. And there's 2 of them with a bench, holding a bench, and then 1 to either side of them with these rat tails they're getting ready to use. And they're all junior members. You don't actually personally know any of them. So, but go ahead, make your persuasion check. I guess you're addressing the group as a whole.
Yes, I'm addressing the group as a whole, just trying to shame them into stopping their terrible behavior. Ooh, and I rolled a total of 22.
That is really good. We'll make a note of that because you'll get 22 experience points for having done something wise and having done it well. Well, you are very persuasive, and you have chastised them. And as you step forward, the 2 of them lower the bench and set it down. And the two with the towels let them droop. And they sort of look cowed. And the two bathhouse attendants step forward, and one of them grabs the bench and pulls it away so that they can't pick it up and use it again. So you've sort of defeated their shield wall, as it were, and you have made them back down. At that point, you see a angry looking character that you recognize, and that is the young man who is now the team captain, comes stomping over. And as he does, he lets loose with a vicious snap with his towel, and one of the people that you just persuaded to settle down screams as the towel cracks across his back, and he says, "Spartans, stand your ground, form your shield wall, hold the line."
What is
What are you
this?
doing, dogs? If this was the old Battle of Nemea, where we defeated the Athenians and their dog allies, you would have been hanged for this sort of treachery. Fight, Spartans, fight! And they all start twirling their towels and getting ready to return to the fight. So the value and quality of what you did is not diminished. You acted according to your code. You will receive the spiritual rewards for that accordingly, and you deprive them of their shield wall because that's been dragged away now. So you, both materially and spiritually, did something very useful. But now they're gearing up to fight. Yes, Abderos.
Abderos knows what Abderos is gonna do.
Well, let's have everyone roll for initiative.
I bet
All right.
Abderos does know what Abderos
Abderos knows what Abderos is gonna do.
Anybody who's participating in this, roll for initiative. And Eumaeus, if you want to leave the tub at any point, let me know. You hear a riot breaking out in the room next door. You could hear Vathea lecturing people, and it didn't go well.
How accessible is this javelin?
All your stuff stacked in there. If you would like to grab some javelins, come stomping out half drunk and naked and start hurling javelins at people clustered in the bathhouse, you are easily able to do that. I would encourage you to do that.
I would too. I'm in that kind of mood.
it's gonna be that kind of game. I see.
Right.
Okay, let's see.
Well, his javelin's his walking stick, so.
Well, this is true. Okay, so let's see. Our Harpastum players, they're all going to be acting on initiative 11, except for the captain.
Does he beat 22?
He does not.
Good, because I'm gonna beat the crap out of him.
Okay, so I'm taking you that Abderos gets a 22.
Abderos gets a 22.
All right, Vathea, at what initiative will you launch your next lecture?
15.
On 15. Dianera?
17.
Oh, she's nice and fast. All right. Chaz?
19.
Wow.
He's fueled by wine.
Yeah. And you apparently have caught these ruffians at a disadvantage. Eumaeus, give me an initiative number just so that we can know when you will act if you end up jumping into this.
4.
You rolled a 4?
Yep.
Okay. Well, with your modified initiative, that's going to be a 7. But still, that's last, and that works thematically, so not a problem. Celine, you are tormenting the hell out of me. Stop. You're intimidating me. Sorry, I'm being harassed here by a vicious beast. Abderos, no one moves faster than you do. Please tell me
Good.
what you do.
Charging's not a thing in 5e, right?
You can attack recklessly. If you say you
I'm
want
gonna
to
attack recklessly. That's fine. Anyway, Abdros comes rushing across the room, screaming, "You're making the road unsafe!" And is going to beat the crap out of that captain.
Okay. Well, let's do a couple of things here.
Yeah.
First of all, you've got to get past his 4 cronies that he set up in a blocking position.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to go through at least one of them before you can do that. But Abdros, you are a monk who is specialized in the safety of the road, not the safety of the pool. So one of the things they never taught you in Monk of the Road School is don't run on slick pool surfaces. Let's go ahead and have you make an acrobatics check to see if you bust your ass while running across the slick tiled surfaces of the
I'm
bath.
not gonna bust my ass. It's gonna be fine.
Well, let's see. If you
Well,
roll
I rolled a 14 and I get +5, so 19.
Well, 19 is enough. 15 would be enough. And we can even say that you did well enough that as your feet go out from you, you sort of get into a controlled slide and you go skidding across the mosaic floor.
Why not?
You're going after one of the junior varsity players?
I want to go after the captain, but you're telling me I can't for some reason. That's fine.
I'm telling you that the area between the column and the steam room in the northern half has 4 people guarding it. That's not some reason. That is 4 people guarding it. If you want to try to maneuver your way around the pool and get around to the captain.
Nope, it's fine.
Okay. I mean, I'm just assuming the most direct route. If you want to.
Where's the cap? No, it's fine. Where's the captain? Here somewhere.
No, up in the upper right-hand corner.
Right hand
Yeah,
corner.
yeah. Let's put him there. That's fine.
Okay.
Move him down to maybe 3 squares south. Yeah, because he's like in a commanding area. Okay, good. You got him. And then there should be 4 right there. Right. Yeah. They're the ones who have the shield wall. And then there's 5 more of them. What's Celine? Why don't you put maybe 3 somewhere south of the captain and then 2 north of the captain. And some of those are varsity and some of them are junior varsity. Do we want to differentiate them by color or do we not want to mess with that?
Which ones are junior varsity?
The 4 over on the left. And then 1 other. Pick a random one other than the captain. Are those different colors now?
Maybe.
Sociable.
Are we picking colors? Can I be orange?
Yeah, you can be orange.
You in that you are playing the only character who is a dyer. I think you always get to pick color first. I think that ought to be one of your privileges.
Will be orange.
I have purple and blue and green. Where's green?
Where's
Here's
green? There it is.
Penny can be purple because her shirt is purple.
Sure.
And then Paul can be green and Mike can
True.
be blue. Mike is somewhere over here.
Yeah, he's over in the left, upper left corner. That's where you're, yeah. So he's there drinking his wine and listening to civil unrest.
Okay.
Okay. So Abdros, you have slid up to any one of those young men that you would like to. and you can take an attack. The last thing they expected was to see somebody surfing across the slick mosaic of the floor.
Okay. Okay.
So basically, you are attacking the equivalent of a 11th grade football player.
Yeah, I feel good about it. All right.
No,
so
no mercy.
22 and 15.
Those are both unarmed strikes.
Yes.
Celine, can I have can I have my pad, please? Thank you, sweetheart. Okay. Well, what does that look like? I mean, is that a punch to the sternum and a knee to the groin? I mean, you hit twice. What are you doing? Is that grabbing his ankle out from under him and dumping him onto the hard
Well, if
floor?
it finishes him, then it ends with a suplex.
Then let's see what the damage is.
Okay, what? It's 10.
All right. This kid did not see this coming. He's pretty tough because he is a semi-professional athlete. He could take a few hits. He can't take more than that. He is stunned to have this attack routine done on him because he was really just getting into bullying people. So he is not taken out of the fight, but he is pretty hurt at this point.
Okay.
That takes us to you, Chaz. Now, keep in mind, people, the weapons of choice in this battle have been towels. So if any of you want to attempt to, as Brenda would say in Hackathon, craft a towel whip, tell me, and we will do that.
Yeah, Chaz isn't that crafty. He does yell quite loudly, "I curse you all!"
Oh.
with the
right.
evil spirits of the fairy court,
Oh, no.
followed by a fairy fire. I think I can nail 6 of them.
Wow. Okay, can you nail 6 of them?
Yeah, 20-foot cube. So I'm thinking the 4 juniors, the captain, and one of the one closer that's in the upper right-hand corner.
Okay.
What that means is they have to make DC 13 dex save.
Celine, stop that. You're being a nuisance. Okay, so let me go ahead and get them all written down here. Are we able?
20?
What's that? What's that, Brenda?
What was the cube?
Yeah, that.
25?
Yeah,
Yeah, that would do it.
yeah, that would do it. Okay, so let me see which ones are affected. What do they have to make a DC what?
13 dexterity.
DC 13 dexterity. Okay, so let's do it for, we'll say those are all junior varsity members and the captain. That'll make it simple. DC 13 dex. Good grief. Well, all of the junior varsity except one make it. Sadly and unfortunately. I mean, I've rolled a lot of 17s and 19s. So the one in the upper right-hand corner is now fairy fired.
Okay.
And let me roll for the captain at this point. And he fails it.
Okay.
So the captain and the one of the junior varsity players. So at least you got the toughest one.
So they're glowing with a sickly violet light, and everyone has advantage on attacks against those two.
Okay. And that is a little disquieting for you to suddenly invoke curses and have their captain start to glow with a sickly violet light. So probably not an altogether bad move. And like you said, all of you will have advantage on your attacks. What, Celine? You are being just a nuisance. Okay. Good job, Chaz. Are you moving or doing anything else?
I'll just move 5 feet south, just to make a clear path in case anybody comes charging from behind.
Okay, sounds good. That takes us to you, Dianara.
I don't know if this is a good idea or not. I'm going to take
Oh
the
no,
amulet.
then it's not. Then it's not. If you have to phrase it like that, then we already know.
I'm
right back.
going to take the amulet that is around my neck, and I am going to conjure my warhorse.
Oh
No.
boy.
By conjure warhorse, do you mean you're actually putting a spell slot into it so it comes out as a warhorse?
No, I would just do the riding horse, just sort of as not to charge them, but just sort of as crowd control, just sort of like move these guys out of here.
So you now invoke a horse. You're the purple one there. So
Yeah.
a horse now appears in the 2 squares just south of your character. Yeah. All right, Caligula Jr. You've got your horse there.
I'm going to jump up on the horse, and I'm going to try and herd them out of the away from the civilians and out the door.
Well, they probably did not see that coming. In that I didn't see that coming. You mount your horse as a bonus action, and you can spur it forward. So you are what? I guess you're more like Lady Godiva. You're a naked Amazon who has her hair up because she was in the bath, who has now summoned a horse, which has full tack and harness, which she is now riding across the floor of the bathhouse. Have I got that right?
Yes, waving a dagger, going, all right, boys, out of here. You're done.
Okay, well, you can direct your horse to make an attack against one of the Harpaiston players.
I'm not trying to get it to trample him. I'm just trying to push it along.
Yeah, right.
Chicago cop, you know?
No, it'd be like bludgeoning damage. I mean, the horse will be like ramming him if you want to try that. So go ahead and make an attack for your horse.
I got to look up what that is.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be.
Oh, here we go.
You got it?
Yeah. Well, that's an 8.
All right. Well, the fact that there is actually a horse there now, though, is kind of a big deal, and you are now positioned to be able to do stuff. So I'm not going to say that it is not relevant that a horse just appeared and started trotting through the bathhouse. That's a big deal. So
this will get me banned.
This isn't really the old battle of Nemea. They're not really battling the Athenian League at this point. They might not really be those kind of Spartans. We'll find out what their level of resolve is. Celine, you're a menace. Vafea. What are you going to do, Vafea?
Well, goodness, I'm not terribly good at summoning horses or casting fire or any of this sort of thing.
Well, what you are good at, and I'm not telling you what you have to do or even what you should do, but when I was conceiving of this adventure, it occurred to me that nobody in your party is proficient with using a towel whip because that's something with a background athlete. And nobody is proficient at crafting one. But you are actually a dyer. You work with wet strips of cloth all the time.
I do.
I would actually give you advantage on crafting a towel whip, and I would give you proficiency with fighting with a towel whip.
Oh, I get to give the Harpaiston players a taste of their own medicine.
I will allow that because as a dyer, you're actually twirling lengths of wet cloth.
I think that follows. I'm on board with that bootstrapping. That works.
And it's even more than bootstrapping. How often does a character who is a dyer get involved in a towel fight? It doesn't happen that often. We've got to give you full leeway when that happens.
Give me a moment to shine here. All right, I'm gonna grab a towel and
there's
spin it
wet
up
towels
and
everywhere. So go
smack
ahead,
one of these guys.
Go ahead and first you're going to make a craft check to see. Have you ever twirled a towel so you know it doesn't always work.
Siblings, of course I've done this.
Sometimes it doesn't work though. Sometimes it just sort of flops. And you're trying to make this a tight whip. So go ahead and I'll let you use your whatever your dyer proficiency is.
Right.
I'll let you use your dyer proficiency, and you can make that craft check at an advantage.
Okay. So that is going to be a 25.
You have a tight towel whip in your hand that has a rat tail-like quality, and you twirl it so tight you can actually hear water dripping out of it as you twirl it into this deadly whip. Okay, so we're going to treat it. You got more than 20. We're going to treat it as a +1 weapon for purposes of this fight. You're not
+1 towel of whipping.
You're not fighting a werewolf or anything, so it's not like there's any imbalance here. You didn't roll a 20, did you?
No.
Okay, so you can have your proficiency bonus, strength or dex, whichever is highest, and an additional +1 because you crafted such a good towel. So what is that going to give you, like +4 on your attack?
Yes. Or +4.
What's your strength or dex bonus?
Just one.
Huh?
Just one.
Just one. Well,
just one.
This is where your crafting skill can make a rare appearance. So
exactly.
You can attack at +4 with your towel.
All right, I will do that. And I got a whopping 14 to attack.
Yeah, well, they're not wearing plate mail. You wind up your, so you rolled a 10?
Yes.
You wind up your towel and you snap. You can go ahead and roll a
the damage on a towel.
Yeah, well, nobody's going to die. This is all we're
just trying to we're trying to shame them into stopping.
We're assessing damage, but damage is a relative term here. In this case, all the damage somebody takes is going to be brawl damage rather than, fireball damage or something like that.
Right.
You can roll a d4 and add 2. And that's +1 for your ability score and +1 for the quality of the towel whip.
That'll be a total of 4.
Well, he shrieks. He didn't see that coming. You step back, roll up your towel, and snap it. And you hit him right in his pectoral. And he grabs it, and he grabs his chest, and he screams. So, Vafea, you have laid into him in a spirited way. Good job.
I will further admonish him as a free action. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I will allow you to chastise him as a free action. Celine, you're menacing your father. All right. The captain now is going to take some kind of an action. What is the captain going to do? He's now glowing sickly purple. He knows that came from the druid, but he also sees that Abderos, who he knows, is coming after him. He just leveled up. He's probably a little overconfident in his abilities. The glowing purple captain, with a snarl of rage, is going to push his way in between the two northernmost junior varsity members and attack Abderos.
Oh, okay, let's go.
So Abderos, Brenda, if you would please move that northernmost junior varsity one up to the north 5 feet, because the captain shoves his way in between the two in that line there and attacks you.
I'm the yellow one.
What's that?
I'm the yellow one.
Oh, you're the yellow one. Oh, okay. Then he shoves his way in between the two bottommost ones.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Got it.
All right.
You don't look different enough.
No. All right. He moves forward and tries a classic punch. He's just gonna try to take you out because he just he was playing a game the day that you fought the coach of the women's Olympia Pancration team. So he doesn't really know what you're all about. He moves forward. What is your armor class?
16.
He lunges at you, and you very readily sidestep his attack, and he looks a little surprised. He thought he was just gonna knock you out pretty quickly.
I might quit the whole pilgrimage trail and just work security at the bathhouse, to be honest. I'm kind of the ideal character for this.
Yeah, you kind of are.
Probably.
Meanwhile, the other Harpastum players all began whipping with their towels. So the captain is yelling orders, which he can do even while he's doing other stuff. His people start to mass. So Brenda, can you just kind of move the Harpastum players? So moving them each up to 6 squares, including diagonally, and get them surrounding your party as well as possible.
Even the one, okay, the wall ones.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's all a dynamic situation. So nobody can move more than 6 squares, but basically they're all trying to surround you, and we're going to roll a bunch of attacks.
Did you roll athletics for them? They didn't slip.
They didn't start asking questions about charging.
I see. So no mechanical advantage, but if I mention charging, I have to roll athletic.
I have even gone so far as to acknowledge that the captain of this team has overdealt his hand and is your inferior. So I'm just saying, you can do heroic things that other people can't. All right.
And I'll bitch the entire time.
All right. So let's go ahead and start to make rolls against people here. Who's the orange one?
Orange is Amanda.
Vafea, 2 of these creeps attack you with towel whips.
Oh,
Yes.
I've made myself a threat now to their towel whip
What is your armor class?
prowess.
It's probably just 10 plus your dexterity bonus.
I believe you are correct. Yes, it is 11.
All right. One of them snaps with his towel, and you sort of jump out of the way and right into another one who snaps you right on your thigh with a towel whip. You take significant damage from the attack.
What?
You take 3 points of damage and incur a welt from a towel snap on your thigh. And you can scream as a free action. Okay, let's see. We've got the next 2 are going to attack Penny because she's on a horse. Penny, what's your armor class?
15. No, actually, no, it's not. That's when I'm armored. Let's see.
Just your dex bonus, probably.
Just my dex, yeah, so my dex bonus is +3, so 13.
Oh, that's pretty good. When you attack other people, though, keep in mind while you're on the horse, your attacks are at advantage.
Okay.
So don't forget that. They move forward menacingly, snapping with the towel. But the horse is cantering and moving around, and you are pretty easily able to evade their attacks. Okay, the captain has already attacked.
I'm laughing at them.
So it looks like one's behind you and is attacking and hits you, and you take 3 points of damage from a towel welt on your back from one that snuck up behind you.
All right.
And then it looks like 3 of them can only get to Abderos at this point and are laying into poor Abderos with their towel whips. And your armor class, what, Abderos?
16.
All right. You get struck twice with towels because they're surrounding you. You end up taking a total of 6 points of slashing damage. So the Harpastum team is doing pretty well at this point. They, with all the level of cracking and snapping they're doing and the level of shrieking that is in response to it, they feel as if they are carrying the field. They moved forward, they've engaged you, and there's a lot of screaming going on at your end. Meanwhile, the pool attendants are ushering the cowering pilgrims who were against the back wall out of the building. So the pool attendants aren't helping you in the fight. Ouch! Celine, you're making me very nervous.
Being very affectionate.
Within the limits of her personality. We love you. You're very special. Okay, that's it for the team. Eumeos is not present. That takes us to round 2. And Abderos, it's you.
Okay, I'm going to spend a point of key to make 3 attacks.
They are all at advantage because your satyr druid has put fairy fire around the captain. So your fists are drawn into the sickly violet light that is surrounding him.
Okay, well, the first one's a 22.
I would say that's a hit.
The second one is a 23.
That is a hit as well.
Third one is a...
Critical hit.
I would like that, wouldn't I? No, 24.
All your attacks are greater than 20. Okay, that's all pretty good.
Yeah.
Go ahead and give me your damage total. He's pretty
15.
Sure. 15 damage?
Yeah.
Will you launch a series of heavy strikes and blows against this guy? He is staggered a bit, but he's resilient and he knows how to take a hit. So he is still in the fight, but you can tell that his confidence is shaken enough and you're a skilled enough unarmed combatant. You could tell if you were able to do that again, he would be out of the fight.
Got it.
You have, and him being having this curse on him isn't helping him one bit either.
Right.
That takes us to Chaz.
Okay, so Chaz is going to move 15 feet closer
Okay,
to the group,
got it.
and then he will use Vicious Mockery
Oh, nice.
on the captain. You pretty boy, Spartan whale, you have no chance against us. And he needs to make a wisdom save, DC 13.
Wisdom save, DC 13. All right. His wisdom is not that great. If his wisdom was really great, he wouldn't be terrorizing people in bathhouses. He fails his saving throw. What is the effect of a vicious mockery on a semi-pro athlete when he's mocked in a bathhouse in a fight?
He takes 3 points of psychic damage,
Okay.
and he has disadvantage on his next attacks.
Oh. Well, he will.
Let me make sure it's attacks, not attack. I don't know how many attacks he has.
He only has one, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, so next attack roll. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he could take an action surge, and he might do that. If he takes an action surge, would the second attack be a disadvantage?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
Doesn't read like that.
Well, you can tell he winces from your cutting words and was not expecting to be insulted in addition to being beaten up by this shrimp that he's been seeing on the road for the last couple of months. So this is not going the way he thought it was going to. Dayanara, you are there on your horse being accosted by at least 3 of these young hooligans.
I am going to ride through them and try and scatter them.
Okay, let's make an attack with your horse and see what comes of that.
Well, that's a little better. 16.
Okay, roll damage for your horse. Just go with whatever the
The
normal
average
damage.
is 11.
Okay.
Wow.
I don't actually want to permanently damage them. I'm just trying to break them up.
No. But we've got to have a metric for
Yeah.
the effect of a horse slamming into somebody. And
Yeah.
if the damage is 11, then the damage is 11. So your horse slams past one of these, and you hear him shriek as the horse bangs into him and tramples across one of his feet. So you can take an attack. What, if you like, Dayanara?
I've got a dagger, but I don't want to stick. Can I use the dagger, sort of like the heel of the dagger, to try and punch somebody in the head?
You can, but nobody ever says, well, you only attack them with the heel of the dagger, so it's not assault with a deadly weapon. I've never heard that as a defense. You're also more inclined to want to use your axe in that you have an unhealthy relationship.
My axe is still back in the room.
You realize that you actually hauled it along with you. You don't even remember grabbing it, but you've got the damn thing. You've always got it. It is a weapon that is bound to you. You've got 3 choices if you want to attack. 1, you can use the dagger and attack at disadvantage. 1, you can use a towel whip and attack at disadvantage. Or the other is you can use your axe. So
And kill someone.
If she's on a horse, does it cancel? Because she's at advantage on a horse?
yeah, it would cancel. If she was attacking with either the butt of the dagger or with the towel whip, the disadvantage and the advantage would cancel.
I'm going to use the towel whip.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and make a craft check. So you dramatically pull your towel off of yourself, whip it up into a whip, and begin to lash out at one of your attackers. Go ahead and make a craft check to start with.
I don't have the craft skill.
No, of course you don't. Most people don't. Only Amanda does. Just make either an intelligence or a wisdom check, whichever is better.
All right. I rolled a 19, so 20.
You have a perfect towel whip.
I was born for this battle.
You were born for this battle. So you're not attacking with proficiency because you were never trained to use a weapon like this, but you can attack just a regular attack using whatever your best ability score modifier is. So Dex.
That would be Dex. All
So
right.
I think that's an attack at +3. Hey, stop. You can't bite me. Get down.
18.
A what?
18.
The nearest one to you is the one that your horse slammed into. Do you have reason to want to attack a different one instead?
Nope.
All right. There's a cracking sound as you hit him in the eye, and he screams
Oh my God.
and collapses to the floor. So whatever damage you do is enough to take him out at that point. And he's now semi-conscious, moaning on the floor and crawling toward the far wall. God, you're horrible. Vafea, it takes us to you.
Okay.
Oh, Brenda, could you please move?
Yeah, how many of these guys are still right where they appear to be?
Yeah, Penny is not. We need to move Penny as far as she wants to go in a
I want to be on the other side of the row of 4 black markers.
okay. And then what? Turned around to be
Yeah, and then turned around.
perfect. Sounds good. Vafea?
I am surrounded by these goons. I will attempt to do another towel attack.
That went pretty well for you. Okay, I think you did it at +4 last time.
Yes. Do I have to craft my towel again, or
No,
am I
no,
still using it?
it's
Okay.
we don't want to be tedious here. You could
That's
recraft
fair.
the towel if it wasn't a perfect towel whip.
Oh, but this is the best whipping towel ever, and I got a 17 to attack.
17 is a hit. So you do 1d4 plus
2 is
2
what we said
damage.
last time, yeah. So that will be 5 damage.
Wow.
2, that'll be the one right in front of the, not one of the ones that are right next to each other, the other one. That's
Well,
kitty
we'll
corner
say
to
that you
them.
went after the same one that you hit before.
Sure, whichever one that is.
And there's a horrible snapping sound, and he screams, and now his other pectoral has a big purple welt on it.
And I will once again tell him, you should be ashamed of yourself harassing these people.
Well, he is shaken by all this, so we'll see how the rest of the fight goes and what comes of all that. Good job, Thayer. Nice job on that. Okay, the captain now is in a rage. You can tell he sort of, I won't say quite goes berserk. That's not what it is, but he's taking an action surge and taking an extra action. So he is now rolls his towel up and starts viciously snapping it at you, Abderos.
At disadvantage.
At disadvantage. So his first attack is a 10. He misses. And then he makes his second attack, which is not at disadvantage. And he also misses. So he has not struck anyone once in this fight. And he has a sickly purple glow about him. And he keeps getting insulted and beaten up. So this is not what he signed on for. And that takes us to the players. So let's do them. We've got 2 who are attacking. Who's orange? Is that you, Vafea?
Yeah, orange is Amanda.
Yes, it is.
They sort of are getting the best of you at this point, Vafea. You take 6 points of slashing damage from a series of vicious towel attacks.
Good grief.
I know, it's awful.
These guys are just wild animals.
Yeah, they're horrible. It looks like 2 can get to Dayanara. And Dayanara, you also take 6 points of slashing damage from towel attacks launched against you. I mean, keep in mind, this is their battlefield. This is where they excel.
Are they at disadvantage because I am on a horse?
Nope, you're at advantage. They're not at disadvantage. All right, the captain missed Abderos. Brenda, there's that one at the rear. Can you move that up so that it's close enough to attack Chaz? So one of them's going to attack Chaz. What's your armor class, Chaz? You're muted, Paul.
I know, 12.
All right, you get hit with a towel.
Ouch.
And you take 3 points of slashing damage.
Okay.
And meanwhile, good grief, 4 of them attack Abderos.
Meh.
Well, they're all trying to impress their captain, is what they're trying to do. Abderos, the captain can't hit you. But all of them are feeling pretty good about the favor they're currying with him by laying into you. And you feel a series of painful cracks and snaps. What, sweetheart? You end up taking a total of 12 points of slashing damage and now have welts or actual bleeding areas or injuries of various sorts scattered across your body.
Okay.
You still in the fight?
Yes.
I'm just asking. And that takes us to the bottom of the round. You can hear people screaming. You can hear the din of battle as it continues in the next room. One of the attendants comes in and asks you if you need a clean towel. And as a free action, gives you one if you'd like one. That takes us to round 3. And to you.
Well, can't he move?
What?
Can he move? Can he start going into the action?
Yes. Would you like to do that?
Yes, he has his javelin that he's using as a walking stick, and he, walks towards the room to enter the room as far as he can get.
You could have taken a double move. That's right. You said that last turn. So you could have taken a double move last turn. So tell Brenda where you want your figure to be.
At the doorway.
Okay, well, you could have started this turn at the doorway. So do you want to be somewhere else? What is it you'd like to do? You could actually probably take an action if you want to.
You'll go over and just be at that square to the next to Chaz, to the top left of Chaz.
Okay.
Yeah, up a little higher. Yeah, right there.
Just right there. So you're not taking any other action. You're just positioning yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Good job. Abdros, it's to you.
Hey, is this guy still on fire?
Yes.
Last
I made my constitution check, so
Okay.
or concentration check, so the fairy fire's still up.
All right, well, that's critical.
You got a critical hit on the team captain.
Yeah, so that's 10 damage.
Okay. And that's just one attack. Did you have other
One
attacks?
attack. 15? Wow, that was bad.
15
Did
to
you
hit.
hit?
That's not bad. That's a hit.
All right, that's 5 more damage.
All right. And are you spending key or?
Yes.
You are. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, if he's down, I'm going to hit somebody next to him.
Yeah. If that's your intent, then you could actually take, say your second attack was against one next to him, who you recognize. It's one of the ones from the road. So you hit him and take him out. Then you hit one of his friends and injure him. And now you can take your third attack with your key damage against that same one if you want.
Oh, okay. Oh, 13.
13's a hit. They're not armored. Keep in mind.
Okay, in that case, another 5 damage.
All right. Well, you hit him a couple of times, and he staggers, and you can tell they are not particularly happy about this. So you've injured one of them at this point and knocked out the captain. Celine, I need my notepad. Why must you sit on the spot where my notes are written? Stop. Chaz, it's to you.
Okay. Well, since I'm actually being attacked and suffering damage, I think it's time to cast Primal Savagery on my horns and gore this guy that's in front of me.
Oh my god.
Okay. Go ahead and roll your attack.
Well, it's just an unarmed attack, really. 14.
Okay. That is a hit.
And the damage is 8.
Good grief.
Well, it's a D10 plus 1. So.
That's pretty good. Will you slam into him and do 8 points of damage? And hold on, I just need to check something here. All right. Go ahead and make a DC 15 wisdom saving throw, Chaz.
Okay. I did not make it.
All right. Well, everything just goes red in front of you. And you feel a bloodlust set in. And you actually feel the encouraging spirit of some long dead warrior sort of laying across you like a mantle and helping you to wield your horns. And you at this point are inclined to keep battering this person until they are beaten into a bloody pulp on the floor, or until you die first. So bloodlust is now upon you in that you are attacking with your cursed horns against somebody. And then, of course, this would just feel like a normal and natural thing to you, that now that you're fighting someone who's injured you, you need to actually butt them until they are just smeared across the floor of the pool house.
Of course. I mean, what else would an angry satyr do?
What else would an angry satyr do? So you do a bit of damage to this guy, and you realize that if you just keep doing this, he will eventually do what he's supposed to do, which is to say die and become dismembered. Celine, damn it.
No, technical question. Am I still concentrating on the fairy fire?
There's nothing about this that precludes you from doing that.
Okay. And then the last little thing was one of the mooks had a fairy fire effect on him. I don't know which one. I'm just reminding you.
I don't know. We'll say it's one of the ones that's fighting poor Vafea. So
Okay.
Vafea, you'll get it. You've been hitting, but your next attack will be an advantage against one of them.
Excellent.
And that takes us to you, Dianara.
Okay, so I'm looking at the board here. I'm the purple one.
Yep.
There's 3 on Amanda's character and
2 on you and 2 on Amanda. 2 on Amanda's
Okay.
character, 2 on you.
4 on.
4 on Abdros.
5.
We're 5, but the captain got taken out.
All right, so here's what I want to do. Mine is the purple one. I want to move, like if this were chest, like a bishop. I want to move on a diagonal down and to the left through the 2 squares that have got 2 of the ones that are fighting Abderos. I try to trample them.
Let's go ahead and roll an attack with your horse and see how effectively you can do that.
11, not that effectively.
11's not that effective. Let's see if it's effective to do anything at all. That's with your horse's modifiers?
Yeah, just +4. I did not roll very well.
No, that's not even enough to make a basic hit. So we'll say the horse's hooves end up just skidding on the floor, and he doesn't make any forward progress, but you can still take an attack if you'd like.
All right, then in that case, I'm going to do a towel attack on the one that is
just one of them. Go ahead.
Upward into my left.
Right. Yep. You can do that. Go ahead.
That hits 21.
21 is a hit. It's better than an 11.
And I'll take whatever is average for a towel whip.
And you had, you knocked one of these guys out before. So the average for towel whip is going to be 2 plus your dexterity bonus. So that's 5. Okay, good job. And don't you have any ranger bonuses or benefits you could be using?
Well,
don't forget your character's abilities.
I'm not using a bow. These guys don't count as favored enemies.
What about your Colossus Slayer? Doesn't that just allow you to basically do an extra 1d8 damage anytime somebody is below their full hit points? So this one you just wounded. But,
all right. Yeah, because of the name of it, I keep thinking that they have to be gigantic.
Yeah, and they don't. It's just a poor naming convention. By the
all right, then
developers.
it does a further d8.
Well, you can't do that yet because he was at full hit points when you hit him this time. But next time you can definitely do that. Okay, Dianara, you didn't do what you wanted to with your horse, but you did wound one of these guys, and you're drawing fire, and that helps. Vafea, it's to you. One of these guys is glowing because of Chaz's spell. You can take advantage if you want to.
Oh, I would love to do that. I would love to attack him with advantage.
So you're attacking at +4, and you can roll 2 dice and take the best one.
All right. Wow, it's a good thing that I had that this time.
Yeah.
The better of those is going to be 17.
And that's
much better than the 7.
You only need 12 to hit these guys.
7 would not have done it, so it's a good thing I had 2.
12 will, or 7, yeah, you definitely hit. So what do you do for damage? It's a D4 plus 2.
That will be 5 again. Also, ow! These terrible rogues keep hitting me with their towels. How dare you?
You had already hit him twice.
Yes.
You snap him in the groin with your towel, and he staggers back and crumples against the wall, clutching himself and groaning in pain. You just took him out. Wow,
Excellent.
you really shown where you excel, Vathea.
Apparently this is actually her calling.
Well,
This should be the +1 weapon you got.
Yes, it should have been a rolled up towel. That should have been my +1 weapon.
Rolled up +1 towel.
You can go back to the Shrine of
Josh
Ares
with
and
one
do
towel.
that. So you're a terror, Vathea. Okay. It goes to the players. 1, 2, 3 of them, including the captain, have been knocked out. Half of the remaining ones are injured. And at this point, we can hear somebody outside yelling for the watch or yelling for the guards. So for their actions, the players are going to grab their knocked out friends and pick them up and start trying to retreat. So they're moving sort of southward and eastward around the pool and trying to move toward the exit so they can get out of there. So they are, the one that Vathea knocked out is now grabbed by the 2 that are nearest to him, and they're dragging him away. 2 of the ones by the captain are dragging him away. So basically what? There were 3 knocked out. So 6 of them are now dragging the wounded ones. And one of them is sort of doing a fearful rear guard with his towel. So they withdraw as far as they can from the battle, and you can see that they've given up. That takes us to you, Eumaeus. Did you want to hurl a javelin across the bathhouse at one of them as he?
No, not at all. So Chaz is in the process of actually killing that one, right?
Yeah, that one. Oh, actually, yeah. He's the one that isn't helping drag someone away. He is actually engaged in combating. Chaz is. You could tell Chaz just has a bloodlust in his eyes. And Chaz is, going to attempt. You could tell he's just in a battle fury. Ouch! Stop! That's my neck. Jesus.
So what Eumaeus wants to do is disengage this. He doesn't want to see this kid killed. So he tries to pull Chaz, away from him.
Okay, you're attempting to grapple your friend. You're attempting to wrap your arms around him and pull him away. So go ahead and do make a grapple attack. So you can attack, say, 2 plus your dexterity bonus.
Okay. So he rolls an 8.
What's your armor class, Chaz?
12.
You rolled an 8, Dad, or you got an 8 total?
No, I rolled an 8.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter what you rolled. Add all your modifiers. What's your dex bonus? Add your dex bonus.
4.
Bonus.
So
okay.
that's a 12.
Okay. Then you grab your friend and you drag him back. So the 2 of you are now grappling with each other. Chaz, do you get to try to break his grapple right now, or do you have to wait till your turn?
I think it happens when the grapple's initiated.
I think it does happen. You don't need to look it up. We'll just play through.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's both of you go ahead and what are we making? Opposed strength checks?
Well, he makes an athletics check, and then I can choose whether to make athletics or acrobatics. Since
Okay.
I don't actually want to succeed, I'll make an athletics.
Okay. Dad.
It's pretty explicit. I can choose regardless. Doesn't
Yeah, that's
say
right.
use the
No,
higher.
no, that's right. And obviously, this is one of those situations where the character sort of wants to get taken out of the fight.
Yeah. So I got my strength is only an 8, and I don't have athletics, so I got a 5.
All right, Dad, do you have athletics under your skills?
Yeah, he gets a +3 for athletics.
Okay, go ahead and roll a d20 and add 3. If you roll a 1, it won't go well.
15.
Okay. You grab the satyr and pull him back and get him in some kind of a headlock. And he's struggling, but you've got him from behind and you're stronger than he is. And he wasn't expecting his friend to jump him. And Chaz, at this point, you can see that the kid is completely terrified because he didn't expect this goat man just to go into a fury and start trying to butt him to death. And he disengages and runs over toward his friends.
I think Eumaeus deserves some sort of reward for that, because.
Yeah, I think so. That was the smart move. That was the move that will prevent an actual death from coming out of this, which is probably not something. Well, I can't tell you what you want, but that takes us to the end of the round. Good job, Eumaeus. It's now the beginning of the next round. If you're continuing to be tactical, it goes to you, Abderos.
If they're retreating, then mission accomplished. So
They are retreating. Their captain has been knocked out and still has this weird sickly glow around him unless Chaz stops concentrating on it. 3 of their friends are knocked out, and the rest of them are needed to sort of haul them all out. So we're out of tactical time. The Harpastum players move as quickly as they can southward through the bathhouse and then go to the left and go out through the changing room. Meanwhile, you can hear the watch being called outside. Dianara, what are you doing? You have a horse here.
I am putting my horse back into the amulet. Fewer questions that way.
Okay. Chaz, your friend sort of has you in a headlock. I don't know, the object of your rage is now gone. So I think that you're no longer compelled. You're not going to have to like stalk or hunt him or anything. It was only while you were actually engaged with him. So you no longer have that bloodlust on you right now.
Okay. So I will drop the fairy fire and I mean, everybody's in half decent shape, right? Is there anyone that needs healing right off the bat?
Several of your friends, including Vafea and
I actually managed to sustain 9 points of damage in that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Well,
and
took 18.
Abderos got torn up.
Oh
Worse
goodness!
than anybody.
Ooh,
Poor Abderos.
okay.
No, definitely help Abderos.
Okay. So I'll heal Abderos for 8. And who was the next worst? Nafea?
I think
Vafea and Dianara are both in equally bad shape.
I can do a cure wounds on myself.
Okay,
Oh.
so Nafea, you get 4.
excellent. Thank you.
And I'm out of healing for today.
I managed to heal most of mine.
Nice.
In fact, I've got a couple left if anybody else is hurt.
So what's the plan now? Do we talk to the watch, or do we try to slip out the back door as well?
We were somewhat involved in that scuffle, weren't we?
We go back to where we were and claim ignorance.
Well,
We've
we
been here
were
all
trying to break up the ruffians, though. I don't imagine that would be a problem.
Now, what's the question?
Are any of the attendants around?
Yeah, the attendants all were hustling the pilgrims out of the area of the fray. The Harpastum players have all departed. What is your party going to do?
Well, what's the read? I'll use where is it? Can I make an insight check? Chat a little with one of the attendants just to see what their take on it is. Would we be better
actually,
trying to avoid the guard, or are they going to vouch for us?
Where are you going? There's nobody else here in the room with you. You are all by yourselves here.
I'll go in the big room on the left. I mean,
Okay.
There's got to be an attendant around here somewhere.
Well, there's the front desk down here on the left. See that little 5x10 area?
Okay.
Yeah. When you get down there, Chaz, you could see a woman who is maybe in her mid-30s, wearing white robes. She has some sort of a holy symbol hanging around her neck, and she is chatting with 5 armed and armored men. They have spears, shields, and helmets, and their shields have the Olympian 12-pointed star symbol on them. And you realize, any of you who else can see this, realize they're the same order of Templars as your friend Inachus is. So this is the same order of temple guardians. They just happen to be stationed here at Nemea rather than stationed in Olympia like Inachus. So you can see this woman is agitated and she's pointing and talking, and they look past her and see you, and then she turns and looks in your direction, Chaz. And you wanted to
Okay. Yeah. So I'll walk up, all smiles, and say greetings. Sorry about the ruckus back there, but those Harpastum players were terrorizing some of your customers, so we just felt like we had to help cool things off a little bit.
Go ahead and what kind of charisma checks do you have?
Yeah, it's persuasion.
Go ahead and make a persuasion check.
Okay. 15.
Okay. Make it an advantage, actually.
Oh,
See if you,
okay.
A 15 is successful. I want to see if you can be more successful.
20.
Well, at this point, one of the attendants has also come up, and 3 pilgrims, who one of whom is complaining, the one who got the horrible welt at the beginning of all this. So the 3 pilgrims and the attendant and the manager of the place now, who's a priestess of Hygeia. And everyone puts all the pieces together, and the attendant says, yeah, these Harpastum players, they just started brutalizing people, and we tried to break it up, and they started picking up benches, and we kind of lost control of the situation. And then this, Goat Man and his friends turned up, and they broke up the situation. So you never know with cops how they're going to react or what they're going to do. Certainly you look alien enough that they might not have responded in a positive way, all things being the same. But your words are persuasive, and you're backed up by the attendants and the pilgrims that are still there. And the manager, the priestess of Hygeia, she turns to the 5 Templars and she says, Sergeant, I think this is all under control now. Thank you so much for coming so quickly. I think that you should turn your efforts to finding the ruffians, the ball players who came in and did all this. They nod and shrug. They're not inclined to file a report or take any statements if nobody wants them to. Anybody else want any interactions with the manager or the Templars or anything else at this point? Or are you just gonna sort of let it diffuse?
Yeah,
Take our wine and head for the hotel.
right. Where did the Harpastum players go? Do we have any idea?
Well, remember, there's a hostel right next door to
Oh.
the bathhouse, and you couldn't get into the hostel because you are not there for the athletic competition. So it's probably a fair
Presumably
guess
there.
that they're
Right.
staying at the hostel next door.
Okay,
Why? Did you
just
want to carry the
wondering-
fight to the hostel?
Oh no, I'm just wondering where we have to look out for these hooligans coming out of next time.
They have probably taken their friends who are unconscious or incapacitated and taken them to the hostel. You've got to go a half-mile west back across the Nemeas River to the village of Nemea and find an inn. And they're going to be playing at this competition for the next several days. So if you were to go to, they're not going to be in the village that night because they're not allowed to go to the village. They've got to stay in the hostel because they're there for an event. If you spend the night in the village and get up and head south to Tiryns the next day, you presumably won't see them again.
Okay.
All right?
Presumably.
I guarantee
But
nothing.
they seem to have a knack for running into us on this trail.
They are, as the ancient Greeks would say, the ancient Greeks had a very appropriate word for this, and it is nemesis. So yes, they are your nemesis. They turn up again and again and again. Not all pennies are good pennies. There are bad pennies too that turn up again and again in situations.
Not everyone can have the best penny like we
Not
do.
everybody can have the very best penny, and these ones are not. They're a whole dime's worth of bad penny.
Oh, no.
All right. Well, we will just sort of tie all this up at this particular encounter area here, and say, but interject at any point if you want to do something different. We'll say that your characters collect up your things and take a 15-minute walk back through the Holy Precinct and the Temple of Zeus and cross the ford that leads you back to the village of Nemea. You spend the night there and have dinner and have no more problems with the Harpaston players, but your fame is once again increased because there are fresh pilgrims headed out on the trail who saw the role that you played, defending them and in that fight. You sleep well. You get up the next day. You spend a day hiking down through the mountains. And after a tough day of hiking, 11 miles through the mountains, not an overly long day, but 11 miles through the mountains can be pretty tough. You end up at the ruined citadel of Mycenae. So you go through the Lion Gate of Mycenae and spend the night at the Pilgrim's Hostel that is established there, and make your offerings at the temple there, and chat with some of the priest of Zeus who's stationed there, who remembers you from when you came hiking back through before, and you can regale him and the other new pilgrims with stories of what you've done over the last couple of months. So you spend the night at Mycenae. The next day, you get up and you continue southward until reaching the pilgrimage town of Tiryns. You go to the Temple of Hercules at the Acropolis in Tiryns, and you meet the priest of Hercules there, and you attend the pilgrim's evening ceremony, and then spend the night in the hostel there. And the next day, you get up and continue westward along the Gulf of Argos, the Argolic Gulf, until you reach the hospital known as the Asclepion of Lerna. So your goal after setting out from Stymphalia was to complete this segment of the pilgrimage trail, which you've done. And then once completing the pilgrimage trail, before deciding what you're going to do next, to go to Lerna, to the Asclepion. So we're going to do one final scene before we tie up, because it's not overly late. We're going to now pick up with your characters at the gate to the Asclepion of Lerna. If you'll remember, when you reach the Asclepion, there's a set of double gates with a symbol emblazoned onto them of a rod with a snake wrapped around it. And if you bear left you walk around a seawall that takes you to the other side of the hospital. Okay? Celine, stop. And while walking around the seawall, you can look across a enclosed freshwater area that's enclosed by a spring. So to your left, as you walk around the seawall, you have the sea. To your right, you have an area that's enclosed that's fed by a freshwater spring, and on the other side of it is the hospital. And as you go around this circular wall and end up on the other side of the hospital, there is a hostel and a temple of Hercules, and that is where people traditionally spend the night. But you're not going around to the hostel tonight. You're not going around to the temple of Hercules. You are stopping at the gates of the hospital. So pilgrims pass you and continue on the seawall, and you now have a closed set of double gates in front of you. And when you knock on them, a porter opens the door. You recognize him from when you were here before. You remember some of you ended up helping the hospital by battling that weird hydraic creature that was menacing pilgrims in the swamp. And the porter recognizes Vafea and recognizes Abdros, doesn't recognize the others, but recognizes the two of you, and nods congenially and says, my friends, and a satyr and an Amazon, welcome. What brings you to the hospital?
I will tell him since he's known us before, and I'll introduce our other party members.
Okay.
So I'll introduce Chaz,
Okay.
and introduce the rest of the party so that now we're all familiar.
Okay.
These are companions that have joined us along the way, and we've seemed to have gotten into a little bit of trouble that we might need some help with. And now, if Chaz wanted to explain further, go for it, Paul.
Oh, well, the porter says, because he's not going to do your intake forms or anything. He says, you mean a sort of trouble that would require you to speak with one of the physicians?
Yes.
Okay. He ushers you through the gates. He closes them and bars them because they don't want pilgrims just wandering into the hospital complex. And he chats with you pleasantly. He leads you past a series of 3 two-story buildings. So they're whitewashed, 2-story buildings with red tile roofs. There are at least 2 balconies on each of the upper levels of these buildings. So you see people moving around in white robes. Some of them appear to be patients of various sorts. Some of them appear to be medical staff, orderlies, or maybe physicians. As you get past the 3 buildings, you see what looks like a constructed entryway, a gateway that disappears into the hillside. And as you go past this gateway into the hillside, he brings you to a small, pleasant garden. So there are fruit trees and all sorts of fragrant bushes and statues of all sorts of gods of healing. And what style bench, Amanda? Did we go with the Doric bench, the very simple Doric bench?
A bench? No, that ended up being much more, in the final, it ended up being much more Corinthian. It's very ornate.
There's an ornate Corinthian style bench in the garden. And he invites a couple of you to sit on the bench and the rest of you to drink some water out of the fountain. And he says he will return presently. Amanda, are you able to share your screen and share the image of our physicians?
Oh, sure. Give me just a moment to pull that up.
So presently, a doctor comes out to chat with you. Is there anything that you don't tell them, Penny or Paul, about your cursed weapon problem?
No, yeah.
I'd
so-
like it uncursed so that I could use it
Yeah.
again. I'm afraid to use my axe.
And I'm rather attached, or my horns are attached to me.
Or
so-
rather attached to your head?
Yeah. So I prefer that the horns were uncursed, but the enchantment remained.
Well, the first person who comes out and talks to you, you don't remember their name offhand, but it is some sort of an intern, some sort of an assistant physician, comes out and has you explain all this to them. And then he disappears. And there's water here for you to drink, and there's fruit for you to eat, and you've had a long day, so it's not like you're feeling overly oppressed. You're able to sit here and just sort of relax in this pleasant environment. And presently, you see 3 people walking toward you. An older man, a middle-aged woman, and a younger man. And each of them has some sort of a creature with them. The older man has a rooster strutting along beside him. The younger man has a very intense looking and attentive dog who has one of those overly intense dog expressions perpetually on its face. It almost seems like it knows what's going on around it, but you know, of course, that it doesn't. And then the woman actually has a viper, a venomous snake, wrapped, writhing around her wrist and the staff that she's carrying. And the 3 introduce themselves to you, and your party introduces yourselves to them. The older man introduces himself as Dimitri Asclepius. This is what he says his name is. He says, greetings, my friends. I recall the service that some of you provided to us some months back when we had our troubles. Welcome. My intern has explained the problem that you have, not as uncommon as you might think. And I believe that we might be able to assist you in this. This is my associate, Penega. She was with the Asclepion Epidaurus, a few days' journey to the east of here. So she is very experienced, especially in matters of poisons and toxins and herbalisms. My young friend here is Podalero. He has gotten quite a reputation throughout the Peloponnese for trying to find ways to apply treatments of the sorts that we experiment with here upon animals. Perhaps one day there will be a specialty of physician who focuses almost exclusively upon animals. And this is what he attempts to do. And then I, of course, am the custodian of this place, and I oversee the Dream Temple, which you can see the entrance to behind us. Well, the procedure at this point is for the 2 of you, Master Chaz and Mistress Dayanara, to spend the evening here with us and have a good meal and relax, maybe have a few glasses of wine. And then after dark, we're going to make accommodations for you through that entrance into the hill there. You will spend the night in the Dream Temple. And while you are there, I will perform a diagnosis of your problem. Determine what it is, determine how it can be treated, taking into consideration the things I observe myself empirically and the things that you have told me. And then when you awake in the morning, I will give you a diagnosis, and if we can help you, we will. Do you have any questions?
Nope.
Anyone who has religion can make a religion check if you like.
Oh, sure. I had to stop sharing my screen so I could find my character sheet. That'll be a 23.
And everybody did see the pictures of the physicians that will appear in the next edition of our book, right? Mm-hmm. You got a 23?
Yes.
Well, he identified himself as physician Dimitri Asclepius. With that last name, he's claiming descent from the demigod Asclepius.
Oh, okay.
So whether he means that in a spiritual...
That's a pretty high pedigree.
That's pretty high pedigree. So whether he's claiming that as just an honorific, or whether he actually is descended from Asclepius, you don't know. But the honorific Asclepiades means he is someone who is actually descended from the demigod Asclepius in some level. So that is what he is claiming with his name in any event. So, all right. Well, you eat dinner at the refectory and meet some of the other patients who are there for all sorts of reasons. If you have any questions for the staff, you can ask that. You do pick up that there's a little bit of consternation. They've got a visiting physician, Galen de Massilia, a woman from the Western Mediterranean who's spending a year at the hospital. And she went a couple of days earlier on a small mini pilgrimage into the swamps to the what is it? The spring of Amioni. And some of you might remember that you visited the spring of Amioni. This is the spring that was dedicated to these 50 Libyan women who murdered their husbands, were condemned to Tartarus, and are supposed to dump water forever into this basin with holes in it in Tartarus. But the spring was created by their sister, the 50th sister. 49 of these sisters killed their husbands. The 50th sister didn't kill her husband. She ended up, after her natural husband died, marrying Poseidon. And in her honor, he created a spring. So there's a spring created by Poseidon about 11 miles from where you are in the swamp of Lerna, 11 miles away in the swamp of Lerna. The shrine to Amioni and her sisters is there. And this Galen de Massilia, who's the visiting physician, went to the shrine a few days earlier, hasn't returned yet. It was expected she would hike there, she would spend the night there, and she would have been back by the afternoon of today. So she has not returned, and there is some concern about that. And there have been rumors that any number of pilgrims have disappeared recently. Those are hard to confirm. You know, somebody sends a letter and says, my loved one says they were on a pilgrimage and they were coming to visit you at the Asclepion. Did they arrive? And either they arrived and then they never made it back where they were supposed to go, or they didn't arrive. So there have been problems. And remember, some pilgrims had disappeared. They ended up getting turned by you don't know who, using some horrible primordial ritual, into this 5-headed monster. Remember the 5-headed monster you thought that was created by taking the 5 Harpastum players and turning them into a monster? You ended up defeating that monster, and when you defeated it, it broke into its constituent parts, which was the 5 people that had been used to form this monster. So they had disappeared, but you found them and solved the mystery of that. But now you're hearing rumors that other people have disappeared, and this visiting physician has disappeared, and this comes up over dinner as a matter of concern, because she should have been back today. Okay?
Mm.
So that night, 3 of you are given accommodations in visitors' apartments at the hospital. So you don't have to stay in the hostel tonight. Chaz and Dayanara are both taken to couches in a subterranean chamber deep within the hill. You're both given some sort of a narcotic drink, which is going to be wine with lotus and a few other ingredients in it. And
Do I bring the axe with me?
What's that?
Do I bring the axe with me?
You have to bring the axe with you.
Yeah.
You have to bring the axe with you. And you, without realizing it, well, you don't realize that you fall asleep, but you fall into a very, very, very deep sleep. But what you think happens is that you awaken. It doesn't really matter for purposes of the story, but on some sort of surreal landscape where things don't really make sense. It doesn't feel as if you're in a natural place. But there are many of you in the scene that unfolds. And basically, this is what each of you see. You can see yourself standing on this surreal landscape. So Chaz, the satyr, can see himself. Dayanara, the Amazon, can see herself. Dayanara, you are holding your axe, and there is a blood red, flickering shade standing next to you. And there's just a look of fury on its face. It's an undead shade. It's an undead spirit. And you're gripping your axe in one hand, and his hand is over yours and gripping your axe hand as well. And you can feel that even as you try to wield your axe, he'll both help you and impede you. And you can actually see this spirit there. Chaz, you've got the same thing. You've got one of these red crimson shades sitting on your shoulders, gripping your horns. And you realize that you're going to get some benefit from this thing, but that it's going to make you do things like that blood rage that you went into. Mm-hmm. And then standing there observing this, chatting amongst each other, you can see the three physicians and their three animals. And everything seems very spectral and strange. It's real, but it is clearly real on another plane of existence. And this goes on for some indeterminate period of time. And then it ends, and you awaken in the morning. And when you awaken, you're brought tea and breakfast, and then you're brought out to the garden, and the three physicians come out, and they tell you that they have diagnosed your problem. So this is what they tell you. They tell you that basically what you knew was going on. Your weapons were enchanted through your consecration ceremony, but they had these malignant spirits attached to them. They have the capability of resolving this. But they've got a problem, and that's that this is now the next morning, and Galenda Massilia, their visiting physician, is still missing. She's still missing. They're worried about her, and one of the physicians who would be needed to help remove this malignant effect from you is going to lead a party into the swamp and go to the Spring of Amioni and try to find her. So the woman, Penega, who specializes in toxins and whatnot, she's going to go into the swamp. She knows the swamp pretty well. She's always going there looking for herbs and poisonous snakes that she can milk for venom. But that'll delay your treatment. So these are basically your choices, you two. You can have them immediately perform a ritual on you that will remove the magical, or will remove the cursed weapons from you. Okay? So it'll remove the curse of the weapons, but you'll no longer have magical weapons. They can do that without the assistance of Penega, even though she's going to be gone. So if you want this done immediately, then they can do that. Or after she goes and does her search for their friend and comes back, they can do a more complicated ritual on you that will remove the evil spirits, but leave you in control of your magical weapons. And of course, there is some fear that if something really has taken Galenda Massilia, the courageous Penega and the orderlies that are going to go with her might befall the same sort of fate. So they want to help you, and they can help you, but they've got this crisis that they've got to deal with, and they want to know how you'd like to proceed.
Well, is there any reason they wouldn't want us to come along to help them? there's strength in numbers after all, and I feel, on my part at least, that I would want to do something to repay the temple for the hospital for this service. And but that said, I'm a satyr. I don't have pockets, so they're not very deep. So if I could provide a service, that might be the best.
Well, certainly. Having a trained physician go into the swamp to look for another missing physician as sort of a desperate measure is something they're willing to do. But if you're offering to accompany her, then certainly they will gratefully take your assistance in that. Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
I would also volunteer to go and help them. I'm a ranger. Swamp is not my thing, but I can probably help track.
Okay. That seems very appealing to them. And the two of you are the ones that they'd be performing this ritual on. So yeah, okay. They would gratefully accept your offer on that. And the rest of the party is present for all of this discussion at this point.
Right, and we would gladly, or at least I would gladly come along and help search for this missing person as well.
All right. Abdros, Jumeos, do either of you have?
No, sorry, that's not the road. I only protect the road.
Well,
We've been on this part of the road before.
There is actually a part of the trail that goes there. Yes.
Oh, okay, then I'm covered. Then yeah, by all means.
So Eumaeus is going to beg off this one.
Wait, why?
Why? What are you going to do next time we play? Well, they're all off appointments.
Oh, the next time we play.
Yeah, we're just setting the scene for the next adventure.
Oh, he's definitely part of that. Yes.
And you suck, Eumaeus. You're terrible.
No.
This is like, nah, I don't want to do that.
I'm gonna chill here in the garden.
No, I thought you were going to do it tonight, and I'm still.
No,
that's fair.
We're laying groundwork for the next adventure.
Yeah, it's late.
That's a fair concern, though.
We're gonna pick it up next time. Okay, so no, we're gonna tie things up in just a couple minutes here, Dad. Okay, so this is in meta terms, in game terms, your choice, guys. If you want to not have to deal with the potential curses associated with these weapons on our next adventure, they can cast basically a remove curse spell on you. Okay, they can do a ritual immediately that would remove curse, and you would then no longer have a +1 axe, Penny. You would no longer have a +1 set of horns, Paul. They can do that right now. They can cast the spell. They have the capability of doing that. And you will then simply no longer have +1 weapons, but you'll no longer be subject to the curse either. That's one choice. The other choice is you deal with the curse associated with your weapons for whatever adventure we're doing for the next session or two. And if you deal with the curse, you'll have the +1 weapons, you'll have the negative effects of the curse associated with it. But then when you get back from the adventure, if you get back from the adventure, they can do essentially an exorcism and remove the malignant spirit from the weapons. You'll then have the magic weapons still, but there will be no curse associated with them. So those are your choices. Immediately divest yourself of the weapons forever. You will no longer have those +1 weapons. There won't be any bootstrapping. They'll just be removed from the game. You won't have +1 weapons anymore. Or deal with the curse for the next 1 or 2 sessions, depending on how long it takes you to get through the adventure we have lined up. And when you get back, they will then cast essentially an exorcism that will remove the malignant spirits, and then you'll have the weapons free and clear. That is your choice. And I'd actually like to know what your decision on that is now, because it's very easy for me by fiat to say they cast remove curse in a ritual and they remove the weapons from you.
I think that the second option, helping them find their colleague and having my weapon exercised but still stay magical is the more interesting way to go.
So you're going to keep the cursed weapon and use it on the adventure while you're looking for their companion.
Yep.
Then have it exercised if and when you make it back.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Chaz will do the same. I mean, what's the worst that happens? He goes into a bloodlust and kills his opponent.
Kills everyone. Yay.
There's no downside.
There's no downside.
Is there not? Are we
Well,
sure about that?
Well, but he'd just have to convert from Dionysus to Bacchus and become a Bacchite. But
I would say that as adventurers, taking the first option over the second is kind of craven and short-sighted.
A little bit.
What's that?
I said a little bit.
A little bit. So you could have taken the first choice, and at this point I would say, they cast remove curse, and you no longer have the weapons. But you know me, you'll never see another +1 weapon. That'll be it.
Never. Never.
Never. Fine. Then you feel the burden of these malignant spirits of vengeance and rage. And you both still do have weapons of vengeance, double-edged weapons of vengeance that can force you into a bloodlust once you've either been injured or injured somebody with one of them. So you will still carry that for however long it takes you to get through the upcoming adventure, which will be 1 or 2 sessions, probably 2 if you really want a good adventure. So we'll be departing in the next session from the regular pilgrimage trail, and we'll actually be having a traditional, more or less, traditional adventure that gets inserted into the pilgrimage trail. And it's been designed so that we can do that. And then after you get through with this adventure, if you survive, we'll then have you return to Naphtalion, which is the port of Tiryns, and take passage to Crete, where you will visit the bullpens of Knossos. And then after returning from Knossos, you'll go to Cape Matapan on the southern tip of the Peloponnesian Peninsula and visit the place where Hercules entered the underworld. And at that point, you will have completely completed the footsteps of Hercules. So you are probably 80% done with the pilgrimage trail, but now have been sidetracked with an adventure of some sort. So that is where we're going to leave it. Unless anybody has reason to think otherwise, we will pick up 2 weeks from tonight, and we will pick up with you setting off through the swamp of Lerna, en route, presumably, unless you want to do something otherwise, to the shrine of Amione, the spring of Amione, and investigating what might have happened to the physician, Galen de Massilia, and any number of other pilgrims who have disappeared. So,
sorry. So
No.
there's a, so just to prepare for next time, there's a swamp and there's a spring, and is the spring in some sort of little temple complex?
it's in a little cave.
Okay.
Yeah. And you'll recall, Chaz, that bottle of water that you have, that ever flowing
Yes.
flask, that's got the images of 49 women etched into it. It would seem to be thematically associated with the 49 women who must dump water forever into a basin with holes in it. It would seem to be connected. The stories associated with that object and with this shrine would appear to be related in some way.
Okay, perfect.
So you presumably at some point, once you heard about this spring, would have wanted to investigate it anyway to find out the connections between it and your and your flask.
Yeah, I think Amanda actually has it though, right?
I think I do right now.
Yeah.
Check
Okay.
my inventory.
Well, one
Okay.
of you has it at any
Yes.
rate. It's
Yeah, I have it written down, but I think
It's
Amanda
a
has
party
it.
item. Yeah, and Amanda has a background in religion, and she's been to that shrine before,
Right.
and she has seen what the bottle is. So, Amanda, you would have understood that somehow the magic that and motivation behind that flask and the observances that are done at that shrine are connected in some way.
Right.
So whether that will manifest itself in some special way when you go there, well, we'll find out next session.
Mhm.
Well, I think that all went pretty well. Does anybody have any questions, comments? It's the first bathhouse towel fight I've ever run in a game in all my years
Awesome.
of gaming. I hope everyone had fun. I hope it seemed lively.
Somebody needs to write a mock epic.
Well, it is like a mock epic because the Spartans that you were fighting kept referring to the Battle of Nemea, which was a real battle where the Spartans fought an Athenian league and defeated them. So in their minds, they were recreating this battle by terrorizing people in the bathhouse. So it was a mock epic from beginning to end. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. So, but I'm always willing to give reveals or answer questions if anybody has anything.
No, that was a lot of fun.
No,
that was a good scenario.
I loved it.
Well, good. I'm glad y'all had a good time with it. I am trying to stop recording on this now. For anyone who joined us for this session and has actually watched through the 2.5 hours of it, thank you so much. We're glad to have you with us. This is, in many ways, we try to do something different every time, and in many ways, this was typical. So both atypical and typical of what we do with this group. So if you had fun with it, check out some of the other episodes that we have at D-Infinity Online, because a lot of them are fun and lively as well. And be sure to join us next time when the characters venture into the swamp of Lerna, where the Lernaean Hydra lived before Hercules battled and killed it. And join us to find out what they see and what they contend with in our next session. Celine, darn it. Thanks.